It's December, so you know what that means. Christmas. And candy canes. Lots of candy canes. In fact, about over 1 billion of them are made every year. That is a ton of candy canes. But what are the origins of this cane-shaped treat, and how did it get so popular? Welcome to Bite-Sized Histories, a short show that talks about the stories and histories of your favorite foods. Today we will be taking a look at the candy cane and the tales that lay in the stripes. So what are the origins of the candy cane? Well, it's complicated, and much like the candy itself, not very clear. So we cannot pinpoint an exact date when they were invented, but we do know that a form of this confectionery has been around since at least the 1600s, and most likely before that. The story goes that in 1670, a German Catholic choir master from Cologne, tongue twister, had some very noisy students. So he either made the candy himself or asked a local candy maker to make some sugar sticks in order to quiet his noisy choir boys. The candies were also shaped like a shepherd's stick to help remind the kids about the great story of Jesus' birth and to make the candies a little more church appropriate. But notice how there were no red stripes and that the candy was just one color. That's because stripes would not become popular in candy canes until much later on. Did this story about a choir master and his noisy students really happen? I'm not sure, and there is still much debate about it today. Nonetheless, it's still a nice story. One thing that we can be certain about is that sugar sticks were popular in Europe as a decoration and treat for a very long time, even before they made their debut in the United States. Speaking about the US, in 1837 there were reports in Massachusetts of a quote stick candy, but the candy cane's first true documented appearance in America came 10 years later in 1847, when German-Swedish immigrant August Imgard decided to decorate his Christmas tree with candy canes. He and his family possibly did this before they came to the States. Where he got these candy canes though is unknown. And again, the candy canes were still white at this time, with no flavoring. It is also important to mention that there was another stick candy similar to the candy cane around this time, known as Polka Greece. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Which is a Swedish peppermint flavored candy stick with red stripes. It's basically like a modern candy cane, but straight instead of curved. Speaking of stripes, it is unknown when the candy cane got its iconic stripes and flavor, but it had to have been somewhere in between the late 1800s and early 1900s, because media in the early 1900s depicted candy canes with stripes. Also around this time, candy makers experimented with many flavors, such as tea berry, huckleberry, and especially peppermint. The peppermint flavor seemed to stick with the candy cane and continues to today. Fast forward about 20 years later, and this guy Bob Mccormack was like, these are pretty good, and started a business by making and selling the candy. But he ran into a small little problem. To make the iconic cane shape, he and his workers had to bend the candy manually, and this was a recipe for disaster, causing about 22% of all candy canes made useless because they were broken. But then in the 1950s, his brother-in-law, who also happened to be a Catholic priest, went up to him and was like, hey, try out this new machine I built. It bends the candy canes for you. And it worked. Candy cane casualty rates significantly lowered, and McCormack's company, now known as Bob's Candies, became the leading producer of candy canes, and still is today. Thank you so much for watching. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and by the time this video comes out, it'll probably be New Year's, so Happy New Year! Hopefully 2022 will be better. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. I hope you learned something new, and have a great day.